Hello there, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Heavy Hammer Bushcraft back again. Weather's not really been cooperating with me lately. It's been, well, kind of rainy and miserable every single time I've had a chance to get out and do a video or something like that. So go figure. Finally got a decent day today. I got some chores done, and remember I'd spoken about doing a tri-stick video, which is if you've never heard of them, tri-stick is it's an old Mors Kochanskis thing. So if you've never heard of Mors Kochanskis, please go look, because the man is like bushcraft legendary. But I brought a few different knives out to dry today. I did got my Spyderco. This is my everyday carry. This is my work knife. Lives in my pocket. Decent little knife. I actually have a hunch that it might be a knockoff, but I'm not 100% sure, because man, it holds an edge phenomenal. So I'm not sure. Because one of y'all mentioned it there in a comment just a few minutes ago, actually earlier today, I got an Open L number 7, which is like my favorite kitchen knife of all time. I love this thing in the kitchen. I also have a number 12 as well. I think it's number 12, number 10 or 12, but it doesn't really matter. They're all the same, just slightly different sizes. This one I actually just picked up while I was on vacation. This is an Elk Ridge, which, they're not the best in the world, but they're decent little knives, and I just kind of like the look of it. It's got that kind of interesting little drop clip point kind of setup going on. So I have never used this, so I figured we would try this out. And just to show you that it can be done with just about anything, my arch nemesis, I guess. This is the, if you've seen my Instagram page, this is the one that got me right there. But this is generally what I carry if I'm not expecting to have to do any kind of real heavy tree work. Wrapped at the top so I can choke up on it good, not get anything, not get like slippery or splinters or anything else. Centimeters on one side, inches on the other. So we got metric and freedom fractions, whichever you need for whatever you happen to be doing. Works really good for the Paul method of land navigation. Not quite as sharp as I would like. I really need to touch it up again. It's getting a little dull, but it's been sitting a minute. I haven't used it much. So, but just to show you that, this can be done with any of these. It's just a matter of practice and whatnot, and always minding your fingers and your digits and your little, triangle of death and whatnot. We're just going to kind of set up here, pop these over here in the table, change the camera angle a bit, and we're going to do a little bit of a tri-stick. This is what you want to start with for a tri-stick, okay? Something about, thumb-ish size. Now, everybody's thumb varies. Don't go by mine, because mine's a little bigger than most. This was actually green, but it was growing almost into my driveway to my barn, so I figured it was time to clear it out and get it out of the way. And yeah, we're just kind of gonna start on it, I guess. Let's see, change camera angle here. Down here where you can actually see what I'm doing. Right there, yeah, something about like so. We're gonna start with the, can we do it with this? I don't know if this is sharp enough. Oh yeah, I'm gonna just start with the beaver chew here on the end. As you can see, my fingers are out of the way. I'm not cutting towards my fingers. I'm just beaver chewing the end of this off. Just working little chunks, a little deeper every time. Now I know what you're thinking. Heavy, it's an axe. Why don't you just cut it? That's a fair point. I could. But this is demonstration purpose to show you that your control over your knife is probably the most important thing. And learning what you're doing is probably the most important thing. Because as you can see, I'm doing this the same way I would with a knife. I got my thumb on the back, and I'm just eating into it, just a little at a time. Just find the little ridges, chew them down, chew into it, and just get more or less. I really probably could have chosen a smaller stick. It would have made this quicker, but where's the fun in that? Probably something that wasn't green might have helped as well. You see, you're just trying to get that beaver chew kind of effect going on, and you just want to chew into it enough, and eventually you get to the point, not quite there yet because this is a fairly large stick, But get to the point where you can just basically snap that right off with like almost no effort. Obviously, I was not prepared for all the drum work that I'm apparently doing here, but the axe was kind of a last minute addition just to show control. See, just a little bit of work, beaver chewed in, snaps right off. You got your beaver chewed end. Dink, dink. So that's your first thing you want to do. Beaver chew your end off. Take your other end. You can start a fire with that if you wanted to, or just toss it in the fire, whatever you need to do. But now you've got a nice sharp stick, reasonably sharp. You can sharpen it down to like I have this end. You can use it as a tent stake, use it for whatever you need to at that point. But that's number one. Now, I'm gonna do a 7-notch. I'm gonna do it on the thicker end of this. The reason I'm gonna do it on the thicker end of this is because if I wanna hang this from like a bale from up here, like on a string or a piece of paracord or something over a fire, the bale can hang in the thicker end of it. It gives it a more secure grab. A 7-notch is, let's use the Oak Ridge. 7-notch is almost like what I carved the other, well this, I'm sorry, it's not a 7-notch, it's a pot hanger notch. It's almost what I did the other day with the 7-notch, but not quite. It's a little bit different. It's not quite as single use as a 7-notch. Now, if you were going to use this to hang, you know, your pot or whatever by the bale over a fire, you would absolutely do a 7-notch on the other end and work your way down from there. But that's not what we're doing. And yes, I know it's towards my hand, but I'm just rocking back and forth, trying to get a set into this stick here. Same here. Because what you want is you kind of work on this here. So as you chew in, really not as big a fan of this knife as I'd hoped to be. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think Elk Ridge uses really, really good steel like I'm used to. But, I mean, it still goes to show you, it doesn't necessarily matter what you're using as long as your control and your ability is there. As long as you're being careful and doing what you need to do, minding all the sharp and pointy bits and whatnot, even with a less than ideal knife, you can still do the things that you need to do. Because people get hung up all the time in the bushcraft thing, and it drives me nuts. It drives me to drink, really, because, like, there is no specific kit that you need. There is no specific knife that you need to do this. Okay, you can do this with anything in the world you happen to have. You know, it doesn't have to be crazy expensive. It doesn't have to be like stupid name brand. You know, it just has to be functional and as good as you can afford. All right. Clean that up just a little bit there. Okay. That is a pot hanger notch. The reason for that is because if you had a pot with a bale on it, the bale would sit just like that right there, and you could hang it over fire. And it gives you a little more security than a 7-notch. That's your pot hanger, okay? Now, working on down the line, I really am not that big a fan of that knife. I'm a little disappointed, to be completely honest with you. But that's why we try new things. Oh, what do we want to use? Let's use the old Opinel. This is probably, ooh, that's still a little sharp. Just a little sharp. We're going to do a square notch. Square notches are if you're trying to, like, you remember Lincoln Logs, if you're that old. I mean, maybe that's dating myself, but you know, if you remember Lincoln Logs from when we were kids, you know, that's kind of what a square notch is. It's really good for joining two pieces of wood together like that, to stack or anything like that. And the hardest part about it is getting your angles right on it, so while you get a good cut and you get a good square notch, you don't go too deep. Because if you get into the heartwood sometimes, and depending on what kind of wood you're using, getting into the heartwood will actually weaken the stick. And you won't be nearly as well off as you were if you just cut a little less. So we just kind of want to be a little careful. Just, again, mind your fingers and toes. Mind your kill points. The triangle of death, as it were. Now, if you wonder about that, the triangle of death is anything in here. Okay, and it kind of comes up into this region because you don't want to stab yourself in the gut, don't want to hit a leg, you sure don't want to hit anything there. So that's, you know, the triangle of death, or, you know, I guess there's other names for it. That's always what I've heard it called. So now you can tell, because this knife is sharper, I'm working much more gently with the tip rather than the meat of the knife. And I'm probably actually being a little more timid with it than I need to be, because the wood's harder than I would like, and this knife is awfully sharp. And now you can see I'm not as worried about cutting towards myself here, because I've got that stop right there. I've got that stop that I'm cutting into, so I'm not quite as worried about it. It's already been 12 minutes. Good Lord. So you just want to kind of flatten it out. I mean, the square notch is literally, I mean, it's a square notch. So I guess this video may run a little long. Also, if you notice what I did right there, I was having a little trouble digging in. So I bit the backside and used the backside for the leverage that I needed. That is a square notch. See, it's square, you know, but you could stack another piece in there like that, lock them together. It's good for figure 4 traps, stuff like that. So there's 2. Let's see, let's do another one. Let's use the Spyderco. I haven't used the Spyderco one yet. Let's use the Spyderco. One thing I do recommend if you're using an open L, because it has the twist lock here, careful with your finger placement, and be careful about this finger, because it's very easy to get in there and unlock it by accident. But they are phenomenal knives. I don't know if this is actually a Spyderco. It says Spyderco, said Spyderco on the box, but you know how that is. We're gonna do I forget what the heck it's called, belly notch, I think sometimes it's called. So we got 2 there, we're gonna go right here. And this one's similar to a square notch, except for on this one, I'm gonna eat in from this side. Get down here like so. You want these all to be roughly 1 inch or so wide. You know, it's good practice. I've gotten to a point with these because I have done so many of these notches. I actually have done a couple of micro ones, like real little itty bitty ones. Just kind of like showing off more than anything. But it's good practice, you know. And a lot of times, you know, if you're just out in the bush and you don't really have a whole lot to do, you know, you've got your camp set and you're just kind of hanging out, waiting until dark, enjoying being in nature, man, find you a stick, make a tri-stick. They're great ideas, and it's good practice, you know. Belly notch, curved notch, however you want to call that, that's what that is. And I think for today, because we're at 15 minutes on this video, I think we're going to call that a day, because I've got, let's see, what else have I got? We got the beaver chew, we got the beaver chew, the bail notch, the square notch, the belly notch. We got a 7 notch. Oh, excuse me. We got the flat end with a notch, and we've got, I don't know what the last two are called. The flat end is literally just a flat end notched, split the stick basically. And then the other one is basically you just kind of whittle out basically two of the bellies and ream a hole through it with the tip of your knife. I don't remember what it's called. Mors will probably be upset with me, but you know what? It is what it is. But again, you notice, like, just practice, be careful, you know, always be aware of where your fingers are. You know, don't get carried away with, you know, how hard you have to cut something. You know, you don't have to press that crazy hard to cut. And if you do, well, you need to sharpen your knife. Your knife's not sharp enough. That's pretty much all there is to it. I mean, if you're having to really press hard to cut stuff, your knife is probably not sharp enough for what you're trying to do. So back up, sharpen your knife, and try again. Because once you get it sharp, this stuff should be like no problem. It should just cut like butter for the most part. I mean, unless you're cutting, you know, like ironwood or something like that, in which case, well, my friend, you have chosen your wood poorly. So reselect, try again, because there is no reason for doing these out of like ironwood or anything crazy hard like that. You know, for your general rule, I mean, your softwoods work really well. Pine is a good option for doing these. So here's a little tiny pot hanger. Little tiny, and you can see just by my fingernail how small that is. I mean, that's the open L. So, you know, you do enough of these, you get really good at them, and they get really ridiculously easy to do. So, and see, there I go. I'm doing bad things. I'm not even paying attention. Cutting right towards my thumb. But practice these, because these are notches and cuts that you're going to need to know, and they will help you immensely out in the bush. I mean, these are little things that are just, you know, a little belly notch. You need to carve a spoon? That's, if you don't have carving tools, that's the easiest way to carve any kind of spoon or scoop type of thing to eat with. So, you know, remember them, practice them. If nothing else, it's good knife safety skills. You know, it'll get you used to handling your knife. And a lot of times when I buy a new knife, I mean, you saw me with the Elk Ridge. Never used that knife before. But now that I've used it, I know I don't really like it because I used it doing this, and it's the fine detail camp tool stuff that, well, I'm probably going to have to do at some point that now I know it doesn't really work the best for. So, before I run on and get all the way to 20 minutes here while I'm just screwing around, I think I'm going to call that a video. And thank y'all for sharing your stories with me about your knife incidences and whatnot. Believe me, I can sympathize. I have had plenty of them myself over the years. Between being a mechanic and bushcrafting, I have had my share and your share. But I'm glad y'all are enjoying the content. If there's anything you'd like me to address, any, you know, knife work you'd like to see, let me know. I'm hoping that if the weather starts to cooperate soon, which it does not quite look like it's going to yet, I'll be able to get out and get started on this shelter build. Because, you know, I mean, yes, I can build in the rain, but I really don't want to if I don't have to. You know, that's not what I'm all about. I'm not all about that life. So if there's anything you do want to see, let me know. Feel free to holler at me. Let me know. Say something in the comments. Hit me up on Instagram or whichever. Instagram or Facebook for that matter. And yeah, I'll do my very best to cover it in a video or talk about it at least. And I don't know if that'll even focus. Focus. There we go. Yeah, so I'm going to stop because I'll sit here and do this all night. But anyways, yeah, thank y'all for the feedback. Thank y'all for commenting, reacting, and interacting with the videos. Very much appreciate it. Love interacting with you guys, and I'd really like to do it a lot more. So hopefully Wednesday, I should be back with another video. If you want anything covered specifically, like I said, feel free to ask. Knife care is a good one that I kind of briefly touched on, but if you want me to get a little deeper into that one, I absolutely will. Yeah, I'm sorry if the audio is not quite up to snuff on this video. I am using the wrong phone for a microphone, so I need to buy another microphone for this phone. Yeah. That's all I got, though. That's it. So I'm going to stop talking and being dumb now, I guess. Until next time, see y'all in the bush.